Thank you for joining me.
You are welcome. Glad to be here talking to you.
Yes, this is our first time to actually talk over video, so I'm excited. I've just read your books, obviously, and we've been such a fan of yours from early on. So I'm excited to get to know you a little bit more as well.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, first, just tell me like a little bit about what got you into writing. I've read things online, but I'd love to just hear from you why you're so passionate about what you do.
Well, that's interesting. Those are two different things. And
Okay, okay.
do you want to know how I got started or now why
How
I'm
you
passionate?
got started.
Yeah, so how I got started, I go into schools all the time, so I've kind of got this down. But
Okay.
13 years ago now, I sold a business. We had a family business. I sold out to my brother, needed something to do. I was 41 years old, so way too young to do nothing. And I went to hire a life coach to help me figure out what I wanted to do. And the life coach I was interviewing asked me, what did I have her do that's different than anybody else?
Hmm.
And as I tell the story, I always laugh that there's a million things we all could have said, brothers, sisters, pets, whatever. All these things could have jumped in my mind. But I said, I had a journal that I started when I was 12 years old, and somehow that popped in my head. And I said, I haven't thought about this journal forever. But I said, when I got back from my first whitetail deer hunt, I didn't want to forget a thing. So I wrote down all the details that happened on that hunt. But then I went on the second week at deer camp, had just as much fun, came home, wrote it all down in the journal. I kept that journal going from 12 years old till about 30 years old. And I just kept writing all my hunting and fishing adventures in it. And that life coach that day said, yep, I bet you nobody else has one of those. Now you got to go figure it out. So I told a friend of mine without thinking, she said, oh, you have to meet my mom. My mom writes children's books. I, of course, laughed at her because I never dreamed in a million years of writing a book, but I was exploring all options. I said, I'll happily meet her. So I met her mom. Her mom's name was Alice. She sat me down. She had four picture books at the time that she had illustrated and wrote. And then in those 30 minutes on her lunch break, her energy and excitement was crazy, fun. It seemed like a interesting thing. And at the end of the meeting, she squared me up and said, now, is there any reason why you shouldn't go home and try to write one book? Because she knew I wasn't working at the time. So I took her challenge. I said, why not? Let's give it a shot. So I went home and wrote The Swamp about my first whitetail deer hunt. I literally banged it out in about a week. I sent it back to her and she went, where did this come from? I said, I mean, it came out of my journal, but I said, it's all in my mind because it all really happened. And I wrote about 56 pages. And she said, well, it needs a lot of work, but you're onto something here. And the rest, we say, is history because now I've written 26 books. So that's how this whole crazy journey got started.
Wow, that is inspiring. I'm sure when you go into schools, that inspires so many students to get writing and to take their real life experiences and just share them. That's what I think makes your book so unique, that they mostly really happened, right?
Yes. And that's what's fun. I realized, again, I believe my journey was 100%. It was a destiny. It was supposed to happen because so many crazy things happened to me over my whole life. Every time I come back from a hunting or fishing adventure, I'd have a story to tell. Like, you can't believe this happened to me. And people just shake their heads. Well, it makes it obviously very fun and entertaining to be able to have curveballs happen so you can throw them in books. It'd be way more boring if I had nothing exciting that happened, but
Yeah.
things happen to me all the time.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, at SkyTree, it's our goal to inspire the next generation of readers and to help them fall in love with reading through the book fair experience that's wholesome, age appropriate, and promoting positive values. How do you feel like your books promote positive values for kids?
Well, the simple thing is that I'm writing it as usually it's Dad and Lucky Luke or Dad, Lucky Luke and Crystal going out on the adventures. And so there's definitely a family bond there for sure. Every time I write a book, I throw the curveballs in there and try to make sure that I talk about safety and we have the moral thing where, of course, oh, the turkey's on the other side of the neighbor's property line. And, of
Sure.
course, we're not going to do that. And so I always try to throw that in there. And usually something happened on the adventure that we've witnessed So I try to keep it simple, wholesome, and in a family fun adventure. And there's no crazy curveballs in my books. There's no hidden, I don't know, inside battles with the kids or anything like that. I keep it just simple, wholesome, fun, and And it's interesting because I did it the way it laid out. And obviously I throw curveballs in there to make it a little bit more fun. My editor, Angela, is amazing at making these things come to life a little bit more. But at the end of the day, the way the kids respond is just, it makes your heart warm. That so a media specialist a couple of weeks ago, I visit schools all the time. She said, it's really interesting that now a couple other publishers have copied my series and they've done this. And she goes, but it's crazy. The kids don't check their books out very often at all. Your books have a waiting list. And I finally
Wow.
asked one of the fifth graders, why do you think his books are different than the other ones? And he looked at me and said, he just has a way of telling a story that just flows and I have to read it. I'm like, oh, and your heart just warms up. You're like, okay. And again, I just write the way it happens. So the whole journey has been a total blessing and fun. And it just makes your heart warm when you hear kids say something like that.
Wow. And it's so true. Kids just want fun stories that they can engage with that feel like they're being transported into that environment. They don't want, the craziness and the nonsense. They really just want it to be simple and something that they can enjoy. So that's so that's so clear and evident by how well your books have done and how much the kids just love them. Um,
Yeah, and the people that hunt and fish, they of course correlate. And I get, wonderful little letters sent by the kids saying, oh, you won't believe it. I was out turkey hunting and just like Luke got his big turkey, I got my big turkey. And it's like you just go, oh, and then I did hear even last week that somebody said, you won't believe it. The one kid came in and said, I've done a lot of hunting, but I've never turkey hunted. But because of that winter turkey dinner book, I'm going to go out and make my dad take me turkey hunting. And I was like, oh, well, that's pretty cool too. So
oh,
that is a totally unexpected curveball that I believe a lot of kids are getting out and trying something new, especially even in the hunting or even the fishing
wow.
world that they've never done it. And I hear from girls a lot too that I had my grandpa take me out fishing because I read, Grandpa
Yeah.
loved, or yeah, the Fishing with Grandpa book and all that. And
Yeah.
again, all these little hidden gems of because of these books. Yeah, it's wonderful because obviously our kids getting them outside, whether it's hunting, fishing, or just walking in the park, it's so important. And obviously that isn't happening near as much as we need it to happen. So if I can do my small little part, well, then that's just great.
Yeah, I mean, you're so right, though. I mean, getting outside, I have two little girls, and all I ever try to do is like, let's just get outside as much as possible. And your books definitely highlight that and just how truly more fun that is than even their devices and their screens. And I think that's such a key part of this is making those things even more fun than the YouTube, the social media, all of the things that they're bombarded with. So you're doing a great job of doing that.
Thank you.
What's your favorite part of your journey? Is it the writing? Is it speaking? What do you love to do the most?
Well, yeah, it's the speaking. It's visiting schools. I've now visited, oh my goodness, last year I think it was 96 schools, and this year I got 78 lined up. I'm just wrapping up and visiting the schools, connecting with the kids. I told some friends, I said, you guys, it's the most humbling thing in the world when you walk into a school, and it happened last week again. All the kids were in a lunchroom, the fourth and fifth graders, and they all started clapping and cheering as I walked through the lunchroom to go get set up. I sat there just shaking my head, going, visiting the kids and realizing that they truly do enjoy the books and the magic part of meeting an author. I never dreamed that kids would think it's so cool to meet an author, but it's just heartwarming to be able to go visit those kids. I love the writing, I love the books, but when you meet those kids and you see their eyes sparkle and want to high five you, and that's what makes this really cool.
That is so cool. And that's so unique. I talk to other authors and they don't do the author visits, but it seems like that's such a crucial part of what you do. What do you hope the kids leave with when they come to one of your speakings?
Yeah, well, obviously the number one thing, my goal is that I want to create a reading frenzy when I walk away. That's it. And so I do a little educating. I talked about the book publishing and the team it takes to get this stuff done. And I enjoy doing the side of education. But the main thing that's so much fun is I have three stories that have the most perfect cliffhangers. And I leave those kids at the end and I don't tell them what happened. And by the time I get to the third one, when they scream at me, then I know I did my job. And it just that's the thing. I want them to just dive into one of these books. I had an email of a teacher about 2 years ago. She said, "Okay, after you left," she said, "I had one of my fourth grade girls walk back in my room, and she looked me square in the eye and said, 'Well, I'm not a reader, but.'" I need to read one of these books.
Wow.
And it was like, yes. And she goes, that's
Yes.
the take. So that's it. I really hope those kids get so fired up that they are dying to read one of those books to find out how they ended. And then if we can hook them a little bit and get them to read the next one and the next one, and the next one, I mean, that's the goal.
Wow. That is, I love that so much. And so what's your hope just in general for children's literature? What do you like, what do you see your role being and what is your hope in general?
Well, my hope is that the phones don't take over these kids' worlds and they just pure and simple stop reading.
Mm,
So twofold. When I go into these schools, and most of the schools I go to are out of big cities, I tell everybody, my people are 2 hours out of every big city where there's hunting and fishing happening, right? And when I go in there and I see a media specialist that is so passionate about creating all kinds of fun ways of getting kids to want to read, and then find out that my books are helping that process,
mm,
that's what I'm hoping, is that we have enough passionate people and educators that want to keep these kids going because it's so easy. I was at one high school where they actually shut their library down because the high school kids don't ever go in there. It's like, oh, and it's heartbreaking, right? So that's it. I really hope that we can create books that at least inspire kids who want to pick it up and read, because we all know reading is so important, but we don't want these kids to just learn how to read from a phone or an app or a game, right?
mm.
So I'm hoping that we can keep finding books that inspire these kids to want to pick up a book and establish that love for reading for their whole lives. Because even as adults, I think there's a time where we finally start realizing that reading could be fun. But boy, if we can spark kids at a young age and just keep them teased with the idea that there are some fun books out there that they want to read, that would be inspiring for me to think we could do that.
Wow, I love that. And you're so right that we have to engage them and at such a young age and just kind of bring them along with us that, hey, we promise what we're saying is true, that reading can be fun. And that's hard. I didn't have that experience when I was younger. I didn't fall in love with reading when I was a young child. I never really, probably because I didn't have your books, but really just never felt like I really found what I enjoyed when I was younger. And so that is such a crucial part of childhood is figuring out what kind of books you like and really resonating with different styles and stories and adventures and things like that. And I think you're definitely a part of that for so many kids, which is very, very cool. And we are so thankful that you are a part of the SkyTree Book Fair team and we get to carry your books at our fairs. I know the kids just absolutely love them and it's so cool to see. So
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad, and I'm glad they're working. That's what I keep saying. This whole journey for me has been a blessing. So if I can keep on helping any way I can, that is fantastic. And I'm glad you guys are out there getting in those schools because, like, yeah, it definitely takes a whole team to keep these kids going.
it really does. Well, last question I have for you is something I want to ask everybody I ever come in contact to, but what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Ah, that's a great one.
Mm,
Don't give up.
mm,
I think that's it. I mean, don't give up. I would have never gotten to where I am right now had I listened to 94% of the people that after 2, 3 years of doing this, and I was not making a dime and just kept writing these books. And I just had so many people say, what are you doing? Why are you still doing this? Go do something else. And
mm.
don't give up, because I just kept pursuing. I'm like, no, there's something here. It's got to be good. It's going to work out.
Yeah,
And if people can be persistent and just simply find something they're passionate about, not give up, it tends to get them to a magical place.
I love that. Thank you so much, Kevin, for joining me and just sharing your wisdom and your journey with us. And we really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Sounds good. Thanks so much. It was great chatting with you, and you have a great day also.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.